So it finishes Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. Liverpool not able to muster a single shot on target, but they did improve as the game went on. Arsenal dominating the first half, but really toothless up front. What that means overall, it could have been 8, instead it's 6. The number of points that separate the top 2. Luis Garcia still with us. Frank Leboeuf joins us as well. We'll be hearing from the boys in a moment. Stevie, you would have taken a point at kickoff, wouldn't you?
I would have taken a 0-0
after half an hour.
Well, it took Liverpool 25 minutes. The highlight we showed was the first time Liverpool had any possession of the ball and any sort of strike at goal. After that, in terms of strikes at goal, Liverpool still didn't have any. But the second half was competitive. The first half wasn't competitive. Arsenal had Liverpool penned in. Liverpool could not get out, couldn't keep the ball, and then when somebody actually got a hold of it, everybody was too busy defending, there was nowhere to go. So first half was complete and utter domination from Arsenal. Arsenal's front three, completely blunt, totally blunt. Gyökeres probably could have been better off sat on the bench beside his manager.
Yep.
But the second half was competitive. Neither side created any real chances. And at the end of the day, I guess 0-0 is probably the right result.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to argue that, isn't it, Frank? I think a 0-0 draw probably sums this game up quite nicely.
Yes, exactly. I would have never thought that, after the first half, but that's the reality of what happened today. And if Arsenal were very dominant, as Stevie alluded before, Liverpool showed their strength in the second half, and it needed, I think, Gabriel Jesus' header and the 88th minute for Arsenal to have a chance in the second half. So it says a lot about the fact that Liverpool, if they park the bus in a way the first half, they try something in the second half, so the result is only fair for me.
Arsenal did something to Liverpool that not many teams have been able to do this year, which made them actually look pretty decent defensively. Because they haven't kept that many clean sheets, particularly on the road, even at home at Anfield. But I think we saw once again that, we've discussed sort of Gyökeres, and it's not all on him, of course it's not. But when a couple of those balls are fizzing across the 6-yard box, he's on his heels.
8 touches he had in the whole game.
He's not in there. It's not happening at the moment. And dare I say, they probably will win the league. I mean, that's a bit of a stutter for them today. But it might be a case where he's not the starting number 9. Jesus is fit now. Havertz is there or thereabouts, I believe. And quite frankly, Arsenal are where they are, despite him, not because of him.
Yeah. Why? When we were calling out last year, when Kai Havertz was missing chances, that we were saying, right, Arsenal need a number 9, a target man. If they got that...
Well, they needed a number 9. Most of us thought that, but they needed a really good number 9. And at the moment, he's not. I mean, Declan Rice talked about the fact that he's getting, defenders are getting tight to him and all this sort of stuff. You don't think defenders are getting tight to Erling Haaland? What you think they're playing a man for man on Haaland? They're not. He's just been, look, he's a much better player. But his movement and his aggressiveness in the box is just much better. His finishing is much better. A part of it is down to the way Arsenal, I think, play at times with the tippy-tappy, but they have fizzed a few balls into the box, and he's not been anywhere to be seen. So, these are the type of games as well where you haven't played great, the opponent is gritty, and you're just looking for somebody to be the penalty box striker and get you the 1-0 win. And at the moment, he's not that man.
So there's two things. You expect your centre-forward to be in certain places at certain times when certain balls are played in the box. And that ball Craig's talking about that was fizzed in, right across the 6-yard box, he was 10, maybe between 10 and 15 yards away from that.
Right.
So he's not read it, he's not anticipated it. And that's the other key. The best strikers anticipate and read and figure out what sort of area the ball's coming into. Not exactly where it's going to be, but what area it's going to be. That's why you see Harry Kane scoring so many goals. All of a sudden, guess who's on the end of it? Gyökeres doesn't seem to be able to work that part of the game out. And the longer it goes, the less chance he's got to start him. Because right now, to me, it looks as though he should be starting somebody else.
Luis, what do you think? Is this Gyökeres not being good enough, or Arsenal not using their tactics to support him?
I think that when a striker doesn't score goals, or not what doesn't score goals, when he doesn't create enough chances, is because around him they are also problems. I didn't see that the Arsenal players were trying to find him or the crosses were in the right position. It's true that sometimes as a number 9, and we've been talking about Gonzalo Garcia, not far away of making those kind of moves to the near post, making moves away from the defender and trying to find the back of the defender. And Jokers maybe is not using those kind of movements to try to arrive in the right positions. But definitely when a player doesn't have, I think he's got 6-7 touches during the game. When a player as a number 9, you don't receive the balls in the right position, it's because around you are not. There hasn't been created enough play to put you in right position. So he needs to improve. Of course, he needs to provide more. Of course, because the transfer market, the price tag that he arrived, it was big enough, and the expectations were big. But definitely around him, the players haven't been serving the balls good enough to make him scoring goals.
Yeah, I'm divided, and I'm going to defend Gyökeres more than the other way, because I really think that they never tried to find him. Sometimes they cross. We had Declan Rice who made a good cross second half with his left foot, but he was doing it randomly. I'm pretty sure that all Manchester City players, when they try to cross the ball, they try to aim Haaland, which is not the case with Gyökeres. So maybe he went to the wrong club. He should have had the question before signing, saying, are you going to cross the ball? Are you going to play tiki-taka? Are you going to do something where I have a chance to get the ball? And I agree with Stevie. Yeah, you have to have the flair. Maybe he hasn't have that flair so far, but at the end of the day, I don't find Arsenal game and way of playing dedicated to any striker in the world, because they go around and if they cross because randomly they try something because they have no other choices. But their game is not aimed towards any striker in a good position for me.
But it's a moot point if Arsenal win the league, and that's what it's all.
Will they win the league?
I think at the moment, yes. I think this is a blip for them. I think the rest are falling over themselves. It's as simple as that. It is absolutely theirs to chuck away. Yep. Right, even with a dysfunctional number 9, and that just sort of it all goes away. And you know, if they win the league, which looks likely at the moment, because they're very strong in every other department, Arteta will just say, well, you know what, next year he's going to be better, and it hasn't cost us, so it's not really a drama.
Right.
However, if one of these teams put a run together, and it looks like it can only be City, although they are faltering, and Arsenal have a few more of these results, and the pressure gets cranked up. Well, you fell away the last couple of years, you finished second, you're ultra-rans, you know, the media start picking away at them. That's when I think it's going to become a really pressurised situation. At the moment, this gap is giving them leeway for the odd mistake.
Yeah, but Luis, will they be going to sleep tonight happy with 6 points, or knowing that it could have been 8?
Yeah, I think that the way that we saw today the game, I think they might be very happy. They have their options in the first 45, but Liverpool controlled the second half. Just the last 10 minutes, maybe when the game become a little bit transition forward and backwards. But during the second 35 minutes in the second half, I think Liverpool was dominating and creating maybe not clear chances, because Liverpool is struggling to find the back of the net, and well, without Tiki-Taka. So I'm sure that Arsenal, and by the way that they set up the lines of 4 in defence and not giving much space to Liverpool, you could see that they were more worried about conceding than more thinking about going forward. So 1 point for them, I think, is more than happy to have it.
Does this make any difference to the title race?
I think that at the moment, the way that it is, there is. Sorry, I thought that you were asking to me.
It's all right, he coughed in the middle of it.
I've just
cough face.
Blame me.
You definitely blame. Frank, do you think this makes a difference to the title race?
I don't, because I think Manchester City missed a chance yesterday to close the gap a little bit more, and we can see that it could be City or Aston Villa. They're not consistent, and if they want to chase Arsenal, they will have to win almost every game. And Arsenal overall deserve to win that title, because they show that they are the strongest, the more consistent, and maybe the most talented team this season in the Premier League.
Welcome you to Goal Zone. Robbie Mustoe, Tim Howard, Rebecca Lowe. As I say, we're going to bring you all the post-match reaction from that game at the Emirates and also every goal from yesterday, which I have to say was one of the best days I think we've had in a while here in the Premier League studio in terms of the amount of goals, the amount of drama, the amount of storylines, etc. Robbie, your assessment of that?
Interesting. No question, disappointing that Arsenal in the second half couldn't stop the momentum, which is amazingly different to the first half. First half, Arsenal bossed it. Liverpool very deep, very cautious, very safe, though very defensive. Second half, they just passed the ball well, Liverpool. They passed the ball really well. Their team for this game is tilted towards possession. Midfield players playing as strikers, coming into the midfield. They kept the ball really well. Disappointment goes back to Arsenal that they couldn't hurry Liverpool a little bit more, press them a little bit better, and get back on the front foot. You know, it's like, wow, okay, this is the way it's going to go. And then thinking from Arsenal's point of view, don't do anything stupid, just keep a clean sheet and put it down to not a great day at the office. Liverpool has still got very good midfield players, talked about the midfield kind of challenges from both teams. And Liverpool were better. They didn't create anything. They had no shots on target in the game. But the possession was their way of defending, different to the first half, that it was very deep and let Arsenal to have it. I just would have expected Arsenal be a little bit more aggressive to win the ball back and get back on the front foot.
Well, you both had Arsenal to win, and at half-time you both had Arsenal to find a way. You surprised they didn't?
Surprised. I think we're seeing this tactic a little bit, and I credit Slot with it. We're seeing teams now go into first half and basically say, this is our tactic, and if we get to halftime and we're safe, we're 1-0 down or 0-0, then we can turn the dial.
A bit like Aston Villa?
Yeah, we're seeing that throughout the Premier League, and it's seemingly working. So again, Slot he's a good manager. He knew the tactic today, and I like you, I was surprised that at home Arsenal couldn't figure out, like, okay, we're taking your punch here, but we're gonna get back on the front foot. They just were never able to regain that, and that's odd in over the course of 45 minutes for Arsenal.
Go on, you want to say?
No, I just think the second half, I made a note, like, just a little flat. You know, and it's hard to Arsenal make these big occasions, right? The Villa game at home and the fans and the manager revving everybody up and Arsenal flying out the blocks and it being brilliant. It's hard to do that all the time.
Especially, do you think as well, sorry to interrupt you, Musty, that when you're trying to go 8 points clear, it's not like you're trying to go too clear. Like you're so far ahead in one way that maybe sometimes it's difficult to keep revving up when you're just trying to extend that lead.
And might those players think, do we have to go again here to try and force another spectacular victory, another statement win and all that? And they might have been a bit, you know what, this is difficult because Arsenal moving the ball really well, and it's one of them where they go and close down and get there early on. Just as I think about it right now, Miles Lewis-Skelly, by the way, that was a problem for Arsenal. He's into the game, Nketiah was injured, and where Liverpool's goal might have come from is Frimpong versus Lewis-Skelly. And that's concerning for me. As a young defender, he looked so off the pace and got beat many, many times. That's where the danger was for Arsenal. They got away with it on that side. Other than that, we know they defend strongly. It's just they did look a little flat in the second half, yeah.
In terms of Liverpool, moving forward for the rest of the season, they're not going to have Isak for a long time. Ekitike, we don't know when he's back. How do you think they're going to deal without those front two as we move forward?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I think they have two really top front players, and again, this is going to be Slot having to sort of interchange. I think Gakpo is a good stopgap. You know, could we possibly see Mo Salah play as a false nine? He might have to get creative because it's tough having those two out.
I think Ekitike is not far off, is he?
No.
I think it's a hamstring problem. I don't think he's that far away. And Liverpool fans might argue, if we'd have had one of our strikers, we might have won the game today, given the opportunities and some of the balls have flashed into the box. But they didn't create, it didn't look like they were going to score really, even though they had tons of possession.
Egypt have made the knockout rounds of the African Cup of Nations, so no Mo Salah coming back anytime soon. But could they do with him? We're starting to look like they could do with him.
It looks like they could do with him. There's been very little talk. We thought the Saudi option might be something that we see, given the fallout. That's very quiet. David's not talking about it. David Ornstein's not talking about it. Maybe the thought is, with those two strikers out injured, though Ekitike is back soon, that they could kind of use Salah, maybe a reinvigorated Mo Salah on that right-hand side. That being said, Frimpong was pretty good today.
Mikel, it felt like a real English battle in the driving rain. But did it feel like a bit of an opportunity missed to go 8 points clear, or are you delighted that you managed a draw?
Every time that we don't win is an opportunity. That means that there will be 15 or 20 points clear. I think we come out into the Christmas period in a really strong position. Obviously, we wanted to win today, and we prepared the game to win it. In the first half, we should have made a difference. At this level, when you get in the position that we got, we need to put the ball in the right area and put the ball in the back of the net, because the margins are so slow. We didn't do it, and they did create nothing apart from the mistake that we had in the first half. But we really wanted to take the opportunity and win. But I think overall in this period we have to be very proud of what we've done.
You made some good substitutions and there was some impact, but Liverpool were just so resolute and so defensive. It was just so difficult to create a breakthrough, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's why they are the current champions, and credit to them for the way they defend as well, and the organisation that they had. And again, when you have those moments, at Anfield we lost. Why? A magic moment of so lies. In these games, a magic moment normally decides the game, and today it didn't happen. Probably the defenses beat the attacks.
You've had an amazing home record this season, and we saw the fan display as well before the game, and it really felt like a real occasion. And you won't be back here until the Manchester United games. You've got 4 away games. Does this feel like a huge month for you, and how do you think you can come through that with the depth that you have?
Yes, and the previous one, it was huge as well. We played so many games in the last few weeks, but now we have a very unusual schedule, but recover the next 2 days and be ready to start a new competition.
Okay, best of luck.
Mikel Arteta's work at Arsenal is being viewed in an even brighter light after the recent coaching shakeups elsewhere. With Chelsea parting ways with Enzo Maresca and Manchester United moving on from Ruben Amorim, the contrast is hard to miss. Arsenal has kept moving forward under Arteta, giving him time through difficult stretches, and now seeing the payoff as the club pushes again in the Premier League title race. It also raises a bigger question about strategy. While Chelsea and United are changing direction again, Arteta has been in place for more than 6 years, outlasting a long list of managers across those 2 clubs in that span. That stability has become part of the story, and it was a major talking point on the Seeing Red podcast with Tom Canton and John Cross. Beyond reacting to Amorim's dismissal and breaking down wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth, plus Manchester City's loss to Chelsea, the conversation kept returning to one core idea: structure. Not just who is the coach, but how much power that coach has, and whether the club is built to support a long-term project. Cross pointed to Arsenal as a rare example of patience turning into real strength. He argued that Arsenal's willingness to back Arteta through the messy early phases helped create the stable position they're in now, and that this kind of time and support investment is what can turn a club into something truly solid. Canton's response was sharp and honest. Arteta's arc, he said, has almost become a problem for other clubs, because it tempts them to keep coaches they probably shouldn't. But at the same time, it's still the best example of what can happen when you hire the right person and actually give them time. And that time wasn't smooth. The discussion highlighted how Arsenal could easily have pulled the plug early. 2 8th-place finishes, then 5th, missing out on the Champions League, and a Europa League semi-final exit to Unai Emery's Villarreal. Any of those moments could have pushed a club into panic mode. Instead, the argument is that Arsenal recognized the bigger reality. Arteta didn't have the resources to compete at the required level right away. The squad needed a rebuild. The roster needed to be refreshed. That's where the comparison to Chelsea and United becomes even more pointed. The podcast suggested that recruitment and decision-making structure are often what determine whether a coach survives. If signings don't land, results suffer. And if a coach doesn't have enough influence, or the club isn't aligned behind a clear plan, it becomes much easier for things to collapse. In other words, giving time only works if the coach is empowered to shape the team in a way that matches the vision. Cross also emphasized that Arteta's situation stood out because he pushed to be a true manager, not just a head coach. The idea is simple. Top coaches want a real say in the build, and they want the club to match what they were promised when they took the job. The discussion even pointed to how Arteta survived a low moment, like the home loss to Burnley, because the club stayed behind him. And in that period, with fan pressure affected by the COVID-era environment, Arsenal were able to hold their nerve instead of reacting emotionally. Meanwhile, the big unknowns now shift back to Chelsea and Manchester United. Who replaces Amorim? And how will the next chapter look at Chelsea? The answers may come sooner than people expect. But for Arsenal, the reality stays the same. They're stable, they're moving forward, and they're still in the title chase, while others are starting over again. And that contrast can shape how people judge every manager in the league. Because when two massive clubs hit the reset button again, it forces the same question Cross raised on the show. Is the quick switch actually fixing the problem, or just delaying the real work? The bigger takeaway from the discussion is that time isn't a magic solution by itself. It only becomes valuable when the club's structure supports the plan. And when the coach has the influence to push the squad in the direction he believes it needs to go. That's why the distinction between head coach and manager kept coming up. The podcast point is that if a coach is expected to own the results, he usually wants a meaningful say in the decisions that shape those results. And if he doesn't get that, patience alone won't save him. That's also where Arteta's early struggles get reframed. Those finishes and setbacks could have become a reason to panic. Instead, they became evidence of why alignment matters, because Arsenal chose to treat them as part of a build, not a final verdict. And once the squad was reshaped the way the club believed it needed to be, the results started to reflect that long-term approach. So the repercussions aren't just about Arsenal looking stable, it's about how stability changes your margin for error. When you don't reset every year, you're not constantly starting from zero. You're building on decisions, learning from setbacks, and keeping a clearer identity. For Chelsea and Manchester United, the immediate consequence is obvious. They're changing direction again, which means the next appointment carries even more weight. Because every new coach isn't just judged on results. He's judged on whether the club is finally giving him the structure and authority that the role demands. That's why the question at the end matters so much. Who will replace Amorim? And how will Liam Rosenior do at Chelsea? Because those answers will test the exact theme the show kept returning to. Time, support, structure, and control. And for Arsenal, it's a different kind of pressure. Stability doesn't guarantee trophies, but it does keep you in the fight longer. And right now, while others restart, Arsenal get to stay focused on what they're already doing, chasing the Premier League title.